guess the big question is, because Balogun's going to be, right? I'm going to look at Chuck for the nod here. The Balogun's going to be our number 9 starter here coming into the World Cup. As it stands right now, big head nod from Chuck if you're not watching on YouTube. Okay, so then you have Christian Pulisic. And I guess the big question is, who plays next to him in that other number 10 spot? Malik Tillman is coming off a goal and an assist, which is the first time an American has done that in a Bundesliga match since Jordi Pifok did it for Union Berlin back in August 2022. Obviously coming back from injury, he's going to be a key player for Leverkusen, wears the number 10 shirt, and they paid a good amount for him to be involved and be the guy. So plenty of time for him to make that happen. I'd love to see that, of course, but you have other options. And Gio Reyna is another one. Tim Weah can also play in maybe one of those spots as well. Chuck,
Weston, Zendejas, Aronson.
I mean, so
you can go down the line.
You think it's going to be situational based on the opponent, Chuck, or do you feel like Pochettino, given what you've seen, is going to find the combination he thinks is the best? Is going to like maybe work through that for the whole group stage?
Well, I love to have players that you don't need to change due to situational play. If we're talking about a team that's going to sit back versus a team that's going to be ultra aggressive, I like players who can adapt. Like for me, when I was playing on the pitch as a striker, if you told me, hey, we're playing against teams that are going to sit back and I can't use my pace and get behind because they're not going to allow it, well, I better figure out a way to still be impactful in the game. And that means I'm going to be faced up and having a lot of 1v1s, beat my defender, draw another one, and then make the pass. And maybe I get it back or maybe I'm creating. But you have to have players who can fit into any type of tactical situation. So for me, Gio Reyna would be a player in the World Cup that you'd want because he's got that special quality of opening up the game. Maybe if he has to take a little bit of a deeper position because teams are pressing and maybe have more possession, can he still figure into a game plan? I think so. It'll be an adjustment, but again, he needs to get fit and he needs to keep playing. Weston McKennie, another player. Can he be one that makes an influence if you're not sitting back where you're having to press and he's got to get on the ball and try and figure out, that's another player. Can he be that guy who can break down a low block? But Tillman, I think Tillman and Reyna are the two players when you think of attacking type players. Tillman, who can shoot from long range. He's got a fantastic shot. So I think Tillman and Reyna are probably leading for the two attacking number 10 roles next to Christian Pulisic in that way. But again, you got 4 spots, 2 more attacking, 2 more defensive, and you're trying to figure out what is the best combination.
So Cello, I'm going to jump in here with Gio Reyna's weekend. He came off the bench, right? They're taking on Heidenheim away from home. You'd like to think, and not to say his coach cares ultimately how he plays for the national team. It's how he fits within his club environment. But he comes off the bench after the game was well in hand for Mönchengladbach. They get a big 3-0 win. He was on the field for the 3rd goal, but didn't really have too much of an impact other than like a pass that had happened, 3 or 4 before the goal actually happened. Well, where are you on this club situation? Because obviously Gio can kind of separate church and state here. We're like, okay, if I'm not playing a lot with my club, I clearly prove that I can be sharp and ready to go for my national team. But as it inches closer to the World Cup, and he's not a regular for Mönchengladbach, that has to give you some pause as a coach. Like, I need to consider his match sharpness.
I think when you look at Gio, I think we all know we've seen him at his best, right? We know what he can do on the field. When it comes to World Cup, listen, I think that you've got to play your best players. And every game is going to bring a different challenge, depending if you're playing Argentina or if you're playing Germany or if you're playing somebody else. I like what Charlie said is you want to have a player that can do a dual role. You've got to be able to do roles. You've got to be able to attack, but you've got to also be able to defend enough to make sure you stay in that tactical structure. So I'm not going to look so much at club form. I'm going to look at his attitude, because when you get him, they're going to get him, I believe, a month before the World Cup. You're going to get him somewhat fit. You're going to play some games in between that period. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the opponent, because every opponent will bring a different challenge. And we all know that just as much as you want to attack in a World Cup, the most important thing is making sure you get back defensively, you fit in your structure. So when you win the ball, you can go in transition and try to hit him on a counterattack. So the important thing is he's playing. He's not sitting on the bench. Would I like to see him play more? 100%. Is it going to cost him maybe a starting spot? It possibly could, because of the fact that he's only playing minutes here, minutes there. But what a good player, man. When he gets the ball and you need something to happen, if they're going to mark Pulisic out of the game, you're going to leave Gio open. That's what you want. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a very tough decision for Pochettino to decide what he wants to do with Reyna, but he just has too much quality not to be playing more. That's all.
No.
I was going to ask you. So in terms of the pot 2 teams that the U.S. could have, right, in this draw, if you got a Colombia in your group.
How is that? A Colombia.
Colombia. If you get a Colombia in your group, how do you think the U.S. should set up in terms of this midfield? If you're talking about the 2 8s and the 2 10s, in your mind, who are the 2 10s? Christian's, for me, is an automatic.
Here's the problem. We're playing 5 in the back. Realistic, you want to say 3. We're playing 5. You've got the 2 wing backs sitting going forward. So that means you're going to obviously have to have 2 6s.
Yep.
Right? You're going to have 2 6s. So let's start with the important part is Tyler Adams, and who's the other 6?
It's for me, it's probably Weston or Tessman. It's one of the 2.
I'm with Charlie. I think that it could be Weston, and he gives you that dual role. But Tessman's been playing very well in that role. He's very good in going to attack. His discipline to get back and defend. So fine, you do that. Now you put Christian, and I think Malik Tillman right now is probably your best option. Watching him play in Gold Cup, watching him play on his team. So listen, and then what happens? What's pod 3 and what's pod? You know what I mean? There's so many different. Because if you play Colombia one day and you play Ghana the next day, it's 2 different teams.
Or Norway, pot 3 Norway.
Well, that's
Egypt,
true.
Or
that's
Norway,
true.
or Norway.
Norway, Egypt, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Honestly, 2 months ago, if you would have said, hey, what are we going to do against Colombia? I would be a little bit more nervous. But the fact that we got a result against Ecuador, Paraguay, and Uruguay, I feel a little bit different about how we would approach South American opponent. That's all that's all I wanted to add to that.
But Jimmy, let's also be cognizant of the fact that Uruguay and Paraguay, even Ecuador, they are not the attacking Common Bowl teams that have all these different threats.
Colombia is another level. I agree.
Completely different level.
And a friendly and a World Cup game are completely different. We all know, even though we say friendlies aren't friendlies anymore, much different when you're playing for the biggest and best trophy in the world.
Yeah,
it's a different mentality.
You never Luis Diaz running at you. I can tell you that.
No,
exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to add to the conversation about who plays in the 10, we talked about this and I'll use the 6s as an example.
Yeah.
We really liked when Christian Roldan came in with Tyler Adams and partnered with him against, was it Japan? And he allowed Tyler to go hunt, right? So you had one of the 2 of the box to go do their thing and go find the game. So if we're saying that Christian Pulisic is going to be the one that we do want him to go find the spaces and find the pockets to go turn. Okay. Do we want that out of the other 10? Because what happens is if both of them are floating at the same time, then they're not necessarily going to be in areas where they can combine with each other. And I feel like that's where
you don't need necessarily for them to be working together and combining all the time.
I'm not saying all the time, but it would be nice if one kind of stayed a little bit central as the other one floated, or if one was going in one pocket, then they can the recognition to go to the other area so they can be an option.
When are they going to be like this?
No, rarely. I mean, if any, when it kicks off, they'll probably be flat. Other than that, they're going to be.
But they're never going to be both wide, And then
no, that's where the wingbacks come in.
And then you also have the 2 6s, right? So one of them is going to naturally come up and be support, so they can make some sort of triangle, and then you're having those passing options. So in saying that, for me, it's who stands the best chance to cover the most ground and can play the quickest. Because if we're talking about playing against Colombia, for instance, then there's going to be more opportunities for counters.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you're talking about whether it's Timothy Weah playing in that left wing back spot, Anthony Robinson playing in that left wing spot, even a Max Arfson or Serginho Dest on the other side. Those are the guys that are going to be high flying, and you got to play into space quick. And then Christian Pulisic running off of Balogun. So ultimately, it comes down to Tillman and Reyna in terms of form and health.